with the Chief.
To ensure you find the Toronto Police standing in your way.
Joining More in the Morning, here's Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw.
Makes it sound like it's a game show. It's nice to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Good to see you, John.
How's your summer going?
Listen, the last few weeks have been incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
as you know, for everybody in the policing sector and here in Toronto recently, particularly. But our men and women are doing an incredible job. Very proud of what's happening right now and what we're accomplishing, notwithstanding the challenges.
I'm trying to remember if you and I have spoken since a police officer, a member of Toronto Police Service, was killed in the line of duty. But I cannot imagine what it is like to be the chief or a member of the force under those circumstances.
Yeah, listen, I've reflected a lot on the various emotions you go through, from grief to sorrow to anger. And I think the best way to describe it, quite frankly, has been some of the worst of times as chief of police and in this role. And I know for some of our members, it's just been incredibly challenging and difficult. But again, I have to commend them. They are rising to the challenge. They are honoring Mark's legacy by committing to excellence, committing to a life of service, and have returned to work and doing incredible work for us, serving our city, particularly during this busy summertime.
Those are two remarkable kids, the officers' twins.
They are. Yeah, absolutely beautiful family, and truly the resilience of those kids is inspiring.
Can I ask you, and I'm not going to labor this forever, but, Torontonians, I think, are preoccupied whenever somebody in the line of duty, any emergency responder is wounded or killed in the line of duty. The union and the force have this ongoing means of supporting a family. And can you speak to that?
I can. Listen, I got to commend the Toronto Police Association and their director, Peter Grande, does incredible work supporting our members during times of crisis and need, and particularly in these moments with the loss of life, a tragic loss of life. They bring to bear all the resources you can imagine. We also have engaged our victim services team, and of course our wellness team has fanned out throughout the service, engaging our members, making sure that our members not only have the supports they need, but importantly are aware of all the resources available as they navigate their own grief journey, recognizing everybody travels that journey in a unique way, and we make space for them to do so and support them through that journey.
So we have a lot of activity in the town. There was Pride on the weekend, but more importantly, perhaps, or more globally in terms of security issue, was FIFA and is FIFA. And it just seems not to have been the potential disaster that some Cassandras had predicted.
Well, listen, from a security perspective, I got to commend the planning team who've done an incredible job. The thoughtfulness in their preparations and resourcing this in a way that makes sense for the complexities of our city have really come together exceptionally well. And I think you're seeing the effects of that. Good planning, good preparation, and we have a good performance by everybody involved in the security aspect of FIFA.
We invited people to send in talkback messages as questions to you. One of the talkback messages we got was from somebody who felt that people affiliated with FIFA are perhaps getting too much privilege.
Good morning, Chief. I was just wondering, how and why did we agree to presidential-style motorcades for FIFA athletes and other dignitaries, crippling Toronto traffic, often at rush hour, while even our own Prime Minister does not get the same level of protection? I would love for someone to explain to me how this makes sense.
All right. I can't attest to this. I haven't experienced it. But are FIFA officials parading about town in huge motorcades and going through red lights?
No, not officials per se. What we have is obviously we move the teams in the team buses in a motorcade-style facilitated move, which are effectively rolling road closures. There's a number of things to consider when you think of, well, we see what the fans, how they gather and how they celebrate. And, we have to make sure buses can move and move safely through our city and get to where they need to be, given the fan excitement around their presence. So that's one reason we do it, is to make sure we can move them safely. And quite frankly, rolling road closures and an organized move of that nature makes traffic disruption less likely and allows things to move more smoothly on a macro level. So that's what you're seeing. You are seeing rolling road closure for the team buses to move and be facilitated. And John, when I think of these situations and we think back to our planning cycle conversations over the past years, we are an international city. We have an obligation to move these players safely from place to place in a timely way in a city that we know, like any major city, has issues around congestion. We are required to do it safely. And can you only imagine the news if they were stuck on the Don Valley Parkway or the Gardner?
Well, we've had that, though.
Well,
we've had athletes and musicians who've gotten hoofed it.
And we saw what happened. And, it's very difficult, and we try to avoid those circumstances, and certainly as it relates to FIFA. When you consider the enthusiasm there is around the sport and the fan base and how they gather and how they celebrate, the need to move the players safely and soundly who are worldwide celebrities. We're one of the biggest soccer players in the world coming to our city this Thursday. That brings a unique draw, a unique curiosity, and a unique enthusiasm, and we have to make sure we move our players safely through all the different places they need to be, and that's what we're doing.
And can I be a complete rube, but I'm always curious. The caller mentioned the type of security the Prime Minister would get and the cortege that the Prime Minister would be in. When that happens, when the Prime Minister's in town, is that something not you personally, but Toronto Police Service has to supervise?
No, the security of the Prime Minister is the responsibility of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. What we do when we have different internationally protected persons in our city, we embed with the RCMP depending on how they've assessed security needs of that dignitary. We embed with the RCMP to make sure seamless integration with our efforts, and we support their efforts. But that is an RCMP obligation.
An aspect of security at FIFA has been drones. How many are we up to that you folks and various other security people have had to intercept?
The last update I had, we're at 20.
20?
Yeah.
Who are these people? Like, they surely know operating a drone is illegal, and especially around an international event.
Yeah, listen, there's all kinds of different interests and reasons for people to put drones up. What we can say is we've intercepted 20. We've laid charges under the Canadian aviation regulations that effectively is a ticket that they receive. We are encouraging people to leave their drones at home. We do have no-fly zones. We've said it literally hundreds of times, and we'll continue to do so. But again, I got to commend our members who have worked very hard to get the tools and resources in place to interdict these drones. And I think what's not talked about enough is quite frankly the safety hazard they pose. We've had drones flying high enough that they could interfere with helicopters. We've had drones up that interfere with our drones or could interfere with our drones and media drones. And one can only imagine the type of injuries that could happen if a drone fell from the sky because it was not operated safely with thousands of people on the ground. So we want to avoid that kind of thing and make sure it's safe for everybody.
Do you guys get to keep the drones that you intercept?
No, we do not.
Okay, just curious. Church Street, and they're shutting it down for the summer. And there was some question as to why the police tab for that was so expensive. Can you walk us through that process? Because I don't know why it needs to be treated as a festival when it's just, they're closing down the street. Big deal.
Yeah, so I think the last update I had on the cost of policing, it was $50,000 for the period of time.
Okay, because the bill came in at 2 when they.
I think there's
estimate.
private security costs, and that have been augmenting the police resources. So we'd minimize our presence to key times during the summertime when the street is closed, and augmenting the road closures with private security. But I think this sparks another discussion, which is, if we're a city that wants to embark on pedestrianization of our streets, then we should have a comprehensive plan developed on how we're doing that and make sure that it layers in all the other considerations. And when you think of this summer, the summer of 2026, we have so many competing other interests that, going forward, I will be asking the city staff to plan a little further ahead for us so we can better integrate our efforts and be less reactionary and more thoughtful in planning how we address the safety and security concerns, which are the obligation of the police service. And when you think of road closures, there's a lot to think about. The threat environment is one. Let's put that aside for one moment.
I mean, somebody could drive into a pedestrian.
Well, there's drive-ins. There's the issue of the threats our communities sometimes face. Different communities, we have to address the threat environment that they face in our city. And we've seen that over the past couple of years change considerably. And you've seen our deployment model change in response. But you also have to consider the ability of first responders to get into those streets when there is an emergency. And who is going to ensure that the fire department can get their truck into the middle of the block when a building's on fire, or the police can get into the middle of the block when there's a major security issue, or paramedics. And being able to make sure that we allow the first responder community at large to respond is something we got to do thoughtfully and consider going forward. If we're going to pedestrianize some of our streets, then let's make sure we do that as a team collectively and make sure we do that thoughtfully and strategically, and do it a little bit sooner in the planning cycle that would allow us all to adjust resources in a thoughtful way.
I've got to do headlines and traffic, but they told me that you could stick around for a couple more questions. So we're in conversation with Chief Myron Demkiw right now, 8:30. Let's get to Stuart McGinn and the half-hour headlines.
John, good morning and thank you. You'll feel the heat and humidity as soon as you leave the door this morning and get out for your day. Toronto and the GTA are headed for the first extreme heat warning with little to no overnight relief as we head into Canada Day tomorrow.
This has got all the elements of it that makes it a really good old-fashioned classic July heat wave. The length, the heat, the humidity.
34 degrees is how warm we'll get today and tomorrow, but it'll feel like 44. A 35-degree high is on the way just the day after Canada Day. If you have a road trip planned for this holiday week, today's your best day to fill up. Gas prices are set to rise 5 cents tomorrow, according to our gas price expert, Dan McTagg. The average price across the GTA this morning is $1.59.9 a liter. And it was an emotional night down at Rogers Centre as former Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette made his return. Now he's a member of the New York Mets. He was in tears, though, speaking to the media about his time in Toronto before the game, and went on to receive cheers and a standing ovation. TSN's Keegan Matheson was there.
Bo got what he deserved, which was a long applause multiple times here, and people respecting and acknowledging what he did for this organization. I know it's easy to view today through a what could have been lens. This could have been Bo Bichette's ring ceremony if the Blue Jays had won Game 7 of the World Series. But it's also important to remember what he did do in this city.
The Jays went on to win last night's game 2-1, snapping a 6-game losing streak. Full details on these stories and more coming up at the top of the hour. From the CTV Toronto newsroom, I'm Stuart McGinn. Now let's check time-saver traffic.
Well, we have issues on the southbound lanes of the 404 and the collectors now through Shepherd. It's the right lane now with the collision and delays extend now from well before Finch Avenue. Then eastbound 401 collectors at White's Road if you're heading into Pickering. Right lane is blocked with a collision. One vehicle involved ended up in the ditch, or just pulling the vehicle out of the ditch as we speak. Westbound on the 401 still pretty busy, but improving from Morningside in sections out towards about the Bayview stretch. And it is pretty slow southbound 427 this hour to get from Burnham Thorpe onto the merge with the Gardner. Heads up as well. We are dealing with a very serious collision involving a pedestrian. Happened in the overnight. Stouffville Road remains closed between Kennedy and Warden. News Talk 1010 weather for your day today. A sun cloud mix with the chance of some more rain. Highs reaching 34 degrees with a humidex of 44. Right now it's pretty overcast and we are sitting at 23 degrees. Time saver traffic. Amadjoa and Siaya-Bois. Your next update at 8:45 on News Talk 1010 Toronto.
Coming up in just a moment, we'll continue our conversation. It is Check-In with the Chief, and Myron Demkiw is here. As mentioned, if you got a question for Myron Demkiw, then you can do so via text or voice back or talk back. You can send either to 416-872-1010.
The great investor Warren Buffett once said, investors should be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy only when others are fearful.
Alan Small, Senior Investment Advisor with Alan Small Financial Group, IA Private Wealth.
Join me for the next Sunday Money Show. 1 hour of financial insights into the factors that impact your portfolio. We often include informed guests to help you invest wisely. You can also watch the show live on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube.
The Sunday Money Show with Alan Small. This Sunday at 12 p.m. on News Talk 1010.
The savings never stop at your local Metro. Your go-to for Canada Day deals that'll make you celebrate. Like fresh colossal cherries for just $2.99 per pound. Only until July 1st. Shop in-store or online at metro.ca.
Hi, this is Greg Carrasco from Direct Nissan, and this is the Score with Nissan sales event. Listen to this. Right now, you can get a 2026 Nissan Rogue for 0% financing up to 60 months. And if you don't want to finance, we will give you a $5,000 cash rebate. That is 0% financing up to 60 months or a $5,000 cash rebate. There is something happening here at directnissan.ca.
What's up? Alien here, from space. And, whoa, I'm loving people's reactions to the news that Lotto Max now has more chances to win, with up to 90 new prizes of $100,000. See? She also can't believe there's millions more to win. Every single draw. But it's real. Believe it.
Oh, alien!
Way ahead of you, buddy. Already bought my ticket.
More prizes, more chances. Believe it. Lotto Max.
Celebrate Canada at Mandarin. Feast on Canadian-inspired favorites like maple barbecued ribs, spicy maple wings, poutine, maple glazed salmon, and more. All added to dine in with select items available for takeout and delivery.
Mandarin. More in the morning continues on News Talk 1010, Toronto.
8:35 is the time. And yes, everything you do is magic. I'm not saying that to the police chief. I'm saying that to you listening right now. It's nice to have Chief Myron Demkiw here. Can we take a quick look at the dashboard, which I've called up here? And, in terms of criminality, violent crime, and in particular homicide, we're on a pretty good streak right now. I know the last time I said, did you want to take a victory lap? And you said, no, I just hope this holds. But I mean, year to date, homicides is 16. We normally have 1.5 homicides a week. So, things are going fairly well.
Yeah, they are for sure. Listen, when you're averaging anywhere from 60 to 80 a year, and we're at halfway mark effectively today, we're feeling these numbers are obviously a positive trend we want to see continue, and we're building on last year's success. The other really telling number is shooting and firearm discharges, which were down last year and continue to be down more this year. And that's notwithstanding, some of the very high-profile cases we've announced recently involving shootings. Our shootings, quite frankly, are doing very well as far as interdicting, disrupting, preventing, and apprehending people involved in the firearms, illicit firearms trade and using guns.
So if you could kind of measure how much this do you think is due to policing and how much is just sort of a general social phenomenon?
Well, listen, I'd love to say it's all amazing policing and et cetera, and I will commend our people who have really taken the approach to firearms and gang enforcement to a different level here in the city of Toronto. We are very laser focused on identifying those offenders who cause the greatest harm and then taking steps to take them out of circulation and being able to cause harm by putting them before the courts where they belong. And our folks have gotten, really good at being focused in that regard. Our frontline members are deployed in a much more thoughtful way than ever before. We are piloting a real-time operations center, which helps us really harness all of our resources across the city and be responsive to things happening in real time. So when you see a shooting happening in one part of the city, our understanding of what may have been behind that shooting and how to proactively deploy is better today than it was last year. We're continuing to evolve. So there is no doubt we are contributing to this drop, no question about it. But I've said before here with you, John, what leads to particularly young men mostly picking up firearms and using them to support their criminality or other criminal activity, what leads them to get to that is a complex bit of work. And a complex problem that needs to be cracked. And, you have a number of stakeholders who need to be at the table to get at this in a more comprehensive way, particularly social services, school boards, family structures, and local community supports. We need to find a way to bring all those efforts together to disrupt this pattern even further so we can see these trends continue downward.
And when you mention young people taking up arms, I appreciate because of the SIU and the circumstances, it's very, very difficult to comment and offer any further insight. But I'll ask you anyway. I mean, the alleged killer of Mark Benizotto, a Toronto police officer, was a 19-year-old who was inside a home that was being raided because he was already connected to other crimes. For me, I find it unfathomable that some 19-year-old holed up in a house ends up killing a police officer.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that particular case, I won't specifically comment, but what you're speaking to, John, is something I've spoken of before, which is, there's a call to action that we need for multiple stakeholders to figure this out. We do our part and hold offenders accountable, put them before the courts. We need the justice system to do their part and provide legitimate deterrence and something that young people don't want to be involved in and really don't want to be in jail and held to account in the court system, because the court system does its job. We need that to happen. We need the school boards to come to the table and find a way to create some understanding of the at-risk youth that they know exist in their hallways and classrooms, to get them the help they need before they pick up that firearm. I carry a gun for a living, John. I use it on the range. I've had to.
Are you wearing it right now?
I am wearing it now.
Okay.
I have had occasions where I've had to draw it in the line of duty and have found myself in some difficult circumstances as a result of my work. And I know what it feels like to have to make some considerations on what you do with your firearm. I do not understand how a 19-year-old finds himself in that position. And there's a lot to unpack there, and we need other people at the table to do something to get the help they need and disrupt these repeat situations where young people are picking up guns to solve their whatever situation they're in, or to do the criminality they're engaged in. We need that to stop.
We had a report come out from Toronto City Hall about speeding, and in the 6 months after we ended speed cams, ticketing from speed cams because they're still active, people are speeding. Excuse me, people are speeding more. I had a lot of people say, well, just put police out there with radar guns. Is that a useful deployment of police officers?
Oh, I think, listen, traffic enforcement is every police officer's responsibility. And quite frankly, I expect all our police officers who wear a uniform to do their part in conducting appropriate traffic enforcement where we know the data says we need to be to keep our streets safe. When you think about how we deploy and why we do enforcement where we do it, we look at the data that we have available to us. We look at complaints from the communities. We look at where collisions happen, where speed is a factor, or aggressive driving is a factor, or distracted driving, and we do enforcement around those issues. I do think it's a very good use of police resources, but
Would you prefer that the radar cams be deployed, though, so that your officers could do something else?
Listen, I don't think the police ever lost, even when the cameras existed, we ever lost our responsibility for traffic enforcement. We saw circumstances, and I know anecdotally talking to people would get multiple tickets. They didn't adjust their driving. They paid their ticket. There was not an accountability metric there or a mechanism for the driver themselves, the way that a police officer can bring, which is demerit points, insurance implications, etc. The speed cameras did not provide that. So while it was a tool, it wasn't the only tool, and the police play a very vital role in traffic safety and will continue to do so.
Thank you for this. Always a pleasure to have you.
Great to see you, John. Thank you.
Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw. We're going to take a break in just a moment.